Hey guys and girls, my name's Dan. Welcome back to the Forge. In this episode of Trust Me, I'm Blacksmith. We're going to be making the frames for the blacksmith helpers that are available on the Etsy. If you're interested in getting your hands on one of these kits, join me at the end of the video and I'll tell you about some limited edition special offers I'm going to be running to introduce these on the Etsy. If you're interested in buying any other blacksmith tools as well, definitely go into the description. There's a link to my Etsy there. So the basic kits you get come just like this one here. You get the initial slide or the first set of tooling. Now this comes together as one piece because it's easier to assemble it if you have this as a single piece item rather than it being cut in two. It also comes with all of the laser cut parts. They are numbered. You will also notice, the keen-eyed here, I've got 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. There is a part that was in here which I've taken out, which was numbered up as 3. That's gone. You'll also get some bolts for the slides. This one I'm going to put together with 8mm bolts. These are 6mm, so these are 1/4 inch or kind of quarter inch. But I'm going to assemble this one with 5/8. There's a reason for that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm sort of making changes as we go here, but the kits themselves, the basic frame as it is very good, and it works very well under a fly press and works very well on an anvil. When you purchase the kit itself, it comes in kit form. I will be welding very few of these together, I believe. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. But the kit comes with all of the components, laser cut, it comes with one slide, it comes with the bolts, it also comes with the drawings, the exploded drawings, how to assemble it, a list of materials you might want to use for your shank, so on and so forth. Okay, if you would like to make this kit at home yourself, you're going to need to get yourself some basic hand tools. Now, the first thing that you're going to need to definitely have is some sort of welder. Stick welder, TIG welder, MIG welders will work fine in any of their varieties and differences. You might be able to do this with gas, you might be able to braze it. I don't know how well that would work, but you need a way of sticking it together. You're also going to need to get yourself some sort of grinder. I'm using a 4.5 inch grinder for this one with a flat disc on, but you might want to use a linisher or a belt grinder, that would work fine. And if you are desperate, you could even do this with a file, but you need it to put the bevels in for the welding process. If you're going to put the adjustments in, the bolt adjustments for the M8 bolts, which would be 5/16 if you're in the States, I'll have to work out what I'm going to do for sending stuff like that. I'll probably send 5/16 out in the States. But you're going to need to get yourself the relevant taps and drill bits in order to do that. And if you are going to do that, you'll need some sort of drill. A cordless drill or a drill press will do the job just nicely. You're also going to need to get yourself some sort of magnet to hold some bits together. It's just going to make your life just a little bit easier. I'm sure you can do it without, but it would help. And you're going to need to find yourself some paper. This is going to be used as a spacer around our slides. You're also going to need to get your hands on some sort of square or measuring equipment of some, well, a square at least, and then also some sort of measuring equipment and some sort of way of marking up. I'm using soapstone. You could use a Dicam or something like that, or just scribe straight into the steel. Each one of those processes is perfectly adequate for what we want. And if, like me, you want to give your Guillotine Tool a nice coat of paint, I would start with an acrylic-based primer or a zinc-based primer. Get a nice good coat of this stuff on there first. Go for grey. Grey's easy to cover up most of the time. And then get yourself a nice industrial metal paint. If you are a blacksmith or you're doing blacksmithing projects and you make tooling and stuff, you'll never go wrong with a big tin of paint, at least anyway. They're quite expensive, these tins of paint. However, they do go on really nicely. They tend to coat very smooth and they're pretty good. The rail number for the colour I used for the ultramarine blue was 5010. First thing that we need to do is a little bit of weld prep. And by that I mean we need to go around some of the edges and put in bevels so that when we come to weld them together we get some reasonably good penetration. And then on some of the parts here you will see that we will have stop-start marks. I'm going to try and find one of those for you. On some of the components we'll have these stop-start marks. This is where the flame or the laser arcs in to start the cut. And basically we need to make sure that some of the components that sit flush together, this is removed. Okay, on 2 of the components marked 6, you need to put 3 chamfers on. So basically you need to chamfer one of the long sides as well. And then when it comes to doing the side plates, they need to be opposite. So whatever chamfer you put on one side, you need to put it on the opposite side of the other half. Otherwise you will have a bit of a problem. And then also what you need to do is you need to spend a little bit of time cleaning off some of the scale from some of the areas where the slides are going to be, or the guides for the slides are going to be fitted. And make sure, because I'm pretty sure this didn't get put into the video because my battery died, but make sure you chamfer off the bottoms as well. And you might want to just clean off some of the scale from the base, just to make sure that when we come to weld everything together, it's going to tie in nicely. On components 4, 5 and 2 of the 6s, what you want is you want one of the 6s with the 3 chamfers on and one with the 2. We're going to mark up the centres and then find a location to put our bolts in. So I'm going to go through that process just quickly now. Like the original, or not the original, like the first one that I did, I'm not sure that it's necessarily needs to have as many bolts in as I put in. But this is just so that you can adjust the tooling up if it's out of line, which I think is a very good idea. I do find with my original one, which I designed a while ago, but I have problems with the tooling needs moving backwards and forwards. So basically all I'm going to do is going to find the centre of the actual piece here, and then I'm going to come in. This is the 100mm one, so I'm going to come in 25mm from each end on this one, which this is already set up at. That's its centre point. And I'm just going to go 1, flip that round, 2, flip that round, and then I'm just going to take a centre punch. And now you don't need to be incredibly accurate here, but you do, you do look to make it look right. It needs to be fairly central. I do the same on this piece here now, and this is 16mm wider, or 5/8 wider, depends on where you are, and I'm just going to add 1/2 of that onto each 25, so it's going to give us 33mm in, and mark those up, and then I'm going to half these and do 25 on that as well. Okay, I'm putting M8 bolts into the slides. I'm going to be drilling them out at 17/64. This sounds like madness, but it's the closest commonly available size to 6.75. If you're doing this in the States, I will send 5/16 bolts. I don't know what the drilling tapping sizes are for 5/16. Hopefully that's a common size bolt, but I'll make sure it's a reasonably common bolt. I'm just going to drill all of the holes through. I don't need to do a pilot on these, not really. If the drill speeds and everything are set up nicely, you should be able to drill through with one shot on this. I'm going to be using a little bit of some cutting lubricant. This is a gel type lubricant as opposed to a water and oil coolant style, just to keep the drill bit a bit nicer. Yeah, so I'm going to cut these. I'm going to drill all of them, and then we're going to tap them. Take a slightly larger drill bit on my cordless. Just going to deburr these. Nice and slow. Don't even really need to use a drill to do this. You could just do that by hand to just deburr these holes. I'm using the taper tap to do this. If you drive the taper tap all the way through the hole, you will have a completely finished thread. So you don't need to worry about swapping the taps over, plugs and so on and so forth. Just the one tap will do the job nicely. I'm trying to keep everything nice and square. Like I said, in the little disclaimer, I am using a cutting lubricant as well. The chuck on this drill is knackered, and from experience I know when to stop. If you are going to do this, I would recommend using the clutch and the screwdriver function, because that will be one way to save stuff before it breaks. But try and keep everything square, try not to rush, and try not to just jam the bloody things through, because they will just snap on you. Throw it on the floor when you're finished as well. Okay, we're going to start assembling now, and the first thing that you're going to need to do is find yourself something flat to work on. The flatter you can get this to start with, the more accurately it will go together. And you can use some of the other pieces in the kit in order to help you get some levels and squares. But I've got my magnet here in the bottom. I've taken a number 2 piece, and for this number 2 piece, the chamfer on the end, needs to be facing inwards, and then a number 6 piece, that's this piece here, one of these flat ones, with the chamfer along the bottom, one of the long edges. And what I'm going to do is that chamfer along the long edge needs to be facing down to the floor, to the table, and then this chamfer, so the chamfer wants to be facing on the inside on the number 2, on the bottom part of the C, and on the top part of the C, the chamfer wants to be facing out. So now that I've got that in, I'll show you around this just now in just a minute. I'm just going to take the slide, which should be relatively square. I'm going to push that up, make sure everything's in nice and tidy, and then I'm going to take a square, I'm going to lay my square on top here, and just have a good look and just make sure everything's in nice and tidy and nice and square. Now I can see that, and that's, I've got a little bit of something there. I'm just going to get that out. Yeah. The problem with magnets is they pick up all sorts of dust and rubbish. And then I'm just going to make sure that this long piece here is square as well, which it is roughly. I'm pretty confident the table's fairly flat. Right, I'll show you around this and how this looks. We're then going to assemble, the other side, but with one of the 6 pieces at the front. And then we're also going to assemble one of these pieces with one of the bits, with one of the 50mm pieces on the top. And then that way, we've got 3 points of contact, we can join them together, we can line them up nicely, and we can get those tacked together with our slide in. But we'll get to that in just a minute. I'm going to be using a MIG welder to assemble the blacksmith helper, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little tack with the MIG gun, a little tack inside here, just to join those 2 pieces together. I know that they're square, I know that they're flush here, this upright seems pretty good to me as well, so I'm going to tack those together, good solid tack, and then work from there. All nicely tacked together. Now that this has been tacked, what I'm going to do, I'm going to separate it from the magnet carefully so that if the tack does break, it doesn't cause me a problem, I hope, like so. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to check to make sure it's nice and square, which it is, lovely. And I'm going to now assemble the other side. So to do that, what I'm going to do, again, exactly the same process as before, just going to line up my magnet. Something to remember when you're using the magnets as well is just give them a bit of a clean. If you don't want to use your fingers, you could always do that with a brush, but just get rid of some of these little spots and dots that get on there, because they will throw you out ever so slightly if you're not careful. Also, sometimes it's worth just giving your table a little bit of a wipe down as well as you go along. Lovely. Right, I've just noticed that I've got one of those little marking on, marking off, or cutting in little burrs on there, and it's just pushing this frame over ever so slightly, so it's not going to sit. So I'm just going to get that with a grinder, and hopefully that's going to sit a bit better. But just, these are the little things you need to check for if you want everything to be nice and tidy. Okay, I'm not sure how much of that you will have seen. Hopefully I put the bit in there about the burr. Hopefully there will have been some information in there about setting everything up. However, what I've noticed is that wasn't lining up for some reason, so I've spent a bit of time just cleaning everything again and going back over, just trying to get this sit square and nice and tidy. It's definitely worth, 100% worth, just taking a bit of time over this. because I've also changed the camera angle, so you should be able to see that a bit better. Yeah, take your time, make sure that you go through the mill and you go through the process of trying to get everything to line up nice and tight. Still not doing it. Right, I'm starting to think it's this bit of the table. Okay, bit more fiddling. I'm going to tack that together. I'm quite happy with that now. Yeah, I just think what was happening was I hadn't lined these two pieces up properly, so they were cantering each other out ever so slightly, which is a bit annoying. In fact, it was cantering in ever so slightly. But I think I've sorted it now, so I'm going to just tack that together, and then we'll go from there. And we'll put the top one on. I won't show you that whole process. I'll put the top one on, and then we'll put the two together and show you how we do that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take our tooling and I'm going to take a couple of sheets of our A4 paper. Now, preference for me personally, I've been using 3 pieces of paper to do this, and then I sort of just crease it those sides up, wrap it all round nice and tidy, and yeah, sort of crease those sides up, wrap it round nice and tidy, get everything looking really smart, and then yeah. You've got a bit more at the front than you will at the back or the front, like so. And then I'm going to use that in order to give our space. Now, leave a little bit at the bottom so that you know that you're flush when you come to mount it onto the base. I found that I messed around a little bit because I had a bit of a lip sticking out from the bottom. So what we're going to then do is we're going to take our tool in like so. We're going to place it into the bottom part of the jig. We're then going to take the other side with the 2 pieces now welded on, and I'm going to slot that together like so. I'm going to grab myself a couple of clamps. Okay, very quickly, just so that makes sense, I have clamped the front 2 slides, I think that was 5 and 6, to the tooling, or the slide gaps, and then what I've done is I've used a clamp here just to make sure, because I had a bit of deflection, I've clamped those 2 together. And then I've also just had to pull this front side in so it's all making contact. I'm just going to tack it together. I will then check it for square, but I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get this out now after that, so that piece is going to be in there. Okay, so everywhere's been tacked. It's important to note that the longest piece, the number 4 piece, goes on the outside, and the shorter pieces go on in the inside. Now, there was a different design for that, and that might come later on in a version 2, but so we're tacked there and there, and it's all nice and tidy together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take component number 5, that goes in here like so. And then we're going to get component number 6 goes at the bottom. Sorry about the really dodgy camera angles. Component number 6 goes here at the bottom, like so. So that was where 6 will go, and then 5 will go at the top. So I'm going to clamp that in there now. I'll show you doing that, then tack those in, then it gets tacked to the base. Okay, this is part number 3, and this is supposed to go in the back here. However, I haven't put it in anymore because I don't think it needs it, but I will leave something like this in the kits, so you can put it in if you want to. But this gap here is supposed to be 8mm, and I think this would be a great way for you to be able to line your metal up on the, or line your helper up on the plate without having to mess around too much with squares and tape measures, because there you are, I've centered it up nicely. So it's 8mm from the front and 8mm on both sides. There's a slightly bigger gap on the back. Okay, it's all welded together nicely now. I've torn off the paper that I can get to, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a piece of material that fits in the bottom and just knock that out. Have a hammer. And there you have it, all finished. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the reason for the bolts. I don't know if you can hear that, it's moving around quite a bit. So when the two pieces are separate, sometimes they can move out of line, which is a side effect of making it fit basically. And just quite easily, you can take these 8mm bolts, they're Allen cap bolts, and I've got a nut screwed on there. Now I know they're slightly different on the other one. I made a executive decision, but we can use that then just to take some of that play out. So say it needs to be further back this way, you can use those to take that play out then, and just basically have a situation where we don't have that play and no misalignment at all. Oh, a bit tight on those threads there, probably need cleaning out a little bit. Just back that off one, and that one. But you still have the ability to move it up and down, but you get rid of some of that play. Alright? If you are intending on painting your guillotine tools like I have, there are a few things I would suggest you do before you even start painting. It's good practice to make the best of a bad situation. Painting is a terrible job no matter what you do, so try and mitigate any problems as quickly as possible. One of the things that's going to look unsightly is spatter or any deposits left over from the welding process. So I'd get a chisel and a wire brush and I'd go around and I'd remove as much of that rubbish as possible. Once you've done that, then you need to try and remove as much rust as possible. Again, a wire wheel or something like that is really effective at that process. And then once you've done that, I would genuinely go through the process of trying to remove as much oil as possible with some sort of acetone or something like that. Spray painting. Now, most of the information you need to know about spray painting is probably on the back of the can, so bloody read it. After that, what you tend to see people doing is getting way too close with the spray can and also putting on too much paint in one go. Make sure you shake it properly before you use it, and then as you apply the spray paint, put a little bit like a dusting on, leave it a couple of minutes, put another dusting on, leave it a couple of minutes, put another dusting on, and then that way you'll get a nice even coat that sticks and doesn't have any runs. Cool, so 2 coats of paint now, it's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I've got this ultramarine blue, I just like the colour. I'm going to stick this on there and jobs are good. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that does look good. Bit of a long one this episode, but there was a lot of information that I really needed to get across, and hopefully it wasn't too much of a ramble. If you have bought one of these kits and you're interested in finding out about the tooling and the shank, I'll be definitely covering the shank in the next episode, and we'll start on turning at least this piece into a piece of tooling, and then hopefully we'll go on and we'll cover one more piece as well. There will be an episode coming up for the fireplace guard where I'll be making some tooling up to do some tenoning stuff as well. So there'll be some videos, drips and drab videos relating to these coming through very soon. Bit of a long one this one, but there was a lot of information to get across. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much and there was some useful information in there to help you put these together. Now, whether you are a blacksmith or a bladesmith making hammers or small architectural pieces, these are super useful tools to have in your workshop. I have one, I've been using it for 7 years plus. I've only ever really got 2 sets of tools, a set of fullers and a set of butchers, but I will be going on in the future to talk more about the tooling. In the next episode, I will be talking about shanks, tooling, and all sorts of ways that you can mount and fit these and use them in your workshop. There's probably going to be 3 or 4 episodes where I use these guillotine tools. There's probably also going to be a couple of episodes where these guillotines show up in other little projects as we go along, like the fireplace guard and so on. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in tooling and stuff for this. So if you're interested in getting your hands on this kit, I will leave a link in the description to my Etsy where you can find this item and lots of other items, but this kit will be available. But if you don't want to put the kit together and you'd like it in this blue and you'd like a few extras, like an extra set of tooling and the shank that goes on this so it can go in a hardy, I will be offering a limited edition deal that I probably will be never ever offering again, which will be the completely assembled kit by me, painted in the blue, an extra set of tooling and the shank so it can go in your hardy for a limited price. So go and check that out if you're interested in getting your hands on one of these completely assembled kits. There's only going to be 10 and when they run out or they expire, there won't be any more. So that's it. So they'll all be gone. There will be more tooling coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make these. I hope this information in here has been useful, even on a general welding and fabrication basis, and also they came out great. I think they're really, really good. There will be more stuff coming, and yeah, I'm going to leave the video there. Thank you so much for joining me. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are a subscriber, why not ring that bell for notifications? It tells you every time I make a video. I make a video about once a week, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less. And because of your support at home, it allows me to do stuff like this, things like buying these over on the Etsy and subscribing and liking. But if you'd like to support in some other ways, you can do that. There's a few ways you can do that. One way you can do that is leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of these. Let me know what sort of stuff you'd like to see laser cut, and also why not tell me what sort of tools you'd like to see in these as well. Also, you could go and share this video with your friends and on other platforms. Let people know I'm here doing this sort of stuff for you guys and girls at home. Also, you could go down to the description where you'll find a couple of links. You'll find my website, you'll find my Instagram. Instagram's great because I post stories and put stuff up on my grid all the time. So if you're interested in getting a little bit extra, that's a great way to keep up with what's happening in here and some extra news and more content. Also, what you could do is you can go over to my Etsy. I know I've mentioned that a few times in this video, but I sell t-shirts, tools, tongs, stock, you name it, it's over there. And if it's a blacksmithing, I'm trying to build quite a comprehensive body of stuff over there for you to get your hands on if you're into the blacksmithing or you need stuff for your workshop. Thank you so much for joining me. I will leave you with a couple of links from our back catalogue. This one here is a link to a video that YouTube thinks is best for you. This one down here is the most recently uploaded. This one here is something that I've chosen. It's probably the old guillotine tool or one of the older guillotine tools. And then this one here is the subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye.